All right. Good afternoon, podcast world, and all you folks out there in Facebook land. Welcome to another episode of Things My Mother Never Told Me. Tina, say
Yes.
hey.
Hey, how's everybody? Welcome, welcome. Thank you for your support
Right.
tonight.
All right. Yeah, we got another one of our special guests for you this evening,
Yes, we do.
Mr. Al Strane. And Tina's going to read your bio, and then we'll jump into some questions and let you tell your story. All right.
All right, great. Thank you.
All right. For those who are interested on tonight, we are speaking with Al Strane. He received a Bachelor's of Science and of Commerce from Santa Clara University, Executive Strategic Marketing Certificate from Wharton School of Business, and was an MBA candidate at St. Joseph's University and Central Michigan University. His corporate career was in the automotive industry, which spanned 42 years, during which a time he had relocated 16 times, venturing from San Francisco to New York and several stops in between. In 2004, the year he decided to retire from General Motors, he came across an article that appeared on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. My Mystery of Baseball. Was William White Game's first black? At first glance, the title of the article didn't resonate with him until he realized the article pertained to the first black player to play in the major leagues. As an ex professional baseball player and amateur baseball historian, he always believed the fact that Jackie Robinson was the first black to play in the major leagues was indisputable. But then here he comes, which this also caused him to become the author of the book, The Jersey. Also, Al was recently featured in the site on the site of Black Men in America. And he is the father of Nicholas and Andre, grandfather of Andre Jr. and Deshaun, Evan and Eric, and Vivian, and husband of loving wife Ramona. All right, Al, we ready for you to take us on your journey.
How you doing?
All right, we can round the bases now.
Woo! You better say it again.
That's right.
Yeah, I say we can round the bases now. That kind of
Yes.
introduction, I want to take.
All right. So you I want to talk a little bit about your education first, and we get folks to know you, and then we'll get into you telling your story. Uh, I like this right here, Wharton School of Business.
Uh-huh.
That's some heavy stuff right there.
Yes.
Well, at General Motors, I spent 32 years of my career at General Motors, starting in San Francisco in 72.
Uh-huh.
And I actually, fortunately, was the first black to achieve the executive level for the Pontiac division. So I take pride in that. And but I will tell you, it was one of those journeys that baseball actually helped me to achieve that position with General Motors, because as I finished my professional baseball career after 2 years in the minor leagues, it was kind of like it's time to find a real job. And General Motors came calling. But I will tell you, at that point in time in 72, I think, the aspect of diversity was coming about on the corporate side. And Pontiac Division, San Francisco had no blacks. Okay. And I was interviewed 4 times.
Wow.
And there was a sense of arrogance on their part, because I never found out what they really did. I mean, on the wholesale side, I knew what retailers did and what dealers did, but not what they did. So
Okay.
finally, after the 4th interview, they offered me the position. I said, that's great. I said, but before we make this final, we'd like to interview your wife. I said, well, that's fine. Okay. Well, my wife, who passed 5 years ago after we were married for 46 years, she was an Army brat. So moving was not an issue for her.
Right.
Plus, I needed a job. So we went in there and it was whatever it is, not realizing that we were going to be moving for 16 times, zigzagging the country from San Francisco to LA, to Kansas City, to Detroit, to New York, to Philadelphia, to Denver, out to DC, back to Denver, then to Philadelphia, then West Palm Beach,
Oh my
and then back
goodness.
to Atlanta.
That's sales and marketing and everything included, correct?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
the journey, and it gave me the insights, because there's several scenes in the book that I actually take for the corporate world, some actual poignant scenes. And two of my associates at General Motors have read the book, loved it. And I asked them, I said, on this particular scene in Philadelphia that took place in the restaurant, who do you think that was? Oh, there's no question about who it was. So, it's kind of one of them womanizer type things,
Right.
And I said, we I changed the names to protect the innocent. But the Wharton School was a General Motors, for their executives, would send their executives to Wharton, and also to a company in, I think, North Carolina called Center for Creative Leadership. So it's a matter of, as they groom future leaders at the corporate side, they really put the emphasis on putting you in the right spaces so you can, be able to shine when you need to shine. So that was fine. Yeah.
We getting the feedback. Is that somebody in your background, Al, or is that you, Brandis?
I'm not sure. Well, let me say this. That Ramona's on the feed, so let me just tell her to turn her.
All right. Well, we get this technical thing worked out.
All right.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna turn. Stay with me now. I'm rolling here.
Well, at least you got a good background scene up.
Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting on this background.
Now, is that your number?
That is a painting. That I gotta turn it off. Yeah, that is a painting by Kadir Nelson.
Okay.
And Kadir Nelson. This, let me see here. This is his book entitled, I don't know if you can see it though. I'm messing with it.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
It's called The Ship.
Okay.
And he's a very accomplished artist. Paintings are in museums around the world. Well, I approached his agent to do my cover for my book.
Mm-hmm.
And the agent came back and said, well, that sounds great. Sent us a little bit about the storyline. I did, and he came back. He says, it sounds interesting. What's your budget? I have a budget.
I know.
So I have a budget. So I went to my publisher. She says, well, you know what that means? You're going to have to pay royalties for this. I said, well, I think we're going to have to switch gears on the cover. I said, I kind of like the name The Jersey. So let's just kind of stay with that. Put it on a white background and roll with it.
There you go.
So we did that. Yes. Thank you. Did you read your inscription inside?
Yes, I did, and thank you.
All right.
Mm.
All right.
Yes, I did. So, okay, so GM sent you to school. You're training. Let's talk about real quick. You grew up on the West Coast, right?
Uh-huh.
And you played and you made it to the minor leagues. Tell us about that, and then we'll get into the inspiration of the book.
Well, let's say this. Played youth baseball all the way through from Oakland. And Oakland, for a good many years, was, how can I say this? More Hall of Famers in baseball and basketball. Bill Russell out of basketball. But you had Frank Robinson, who's in the Hall of Fame. Joe Morgan's in the Hall of Fame. They're all from my hometown.
Okay.
As we were growing up as kids, these major league players, Frank Robinson, Beta Pinson, Tommy Harper, Pumpsy Green, who was the first brother to play, last brother to integrate the Boston Red Sox in 1959. All these guys were in Oakland. So before they go to spring training, we as kids would go out and shag balls. And after they would hit, these are guys you'd see on TV on Saturday. So we were in a haven in Oakland, but basically played youth baseball, played on the national championship team in 1966, American Legion. And we attended the World Series in 66 in Los Angeles. And my brother and I were the captains, and we were presented the championship trophy at the World Series in LA by Frank Robinson and Brooks Robinson.
All right.
But my twin brother and I got a 4-year ride to University of Santa Clara. And the way the draft works, you're eligible for the draft after your sophomore year. So, well, out of high school, we got drafted by the Giants, San Francisco Giants.
Mhm.
After our sophomore year at University of Santa Clara, got drafted by the Dodgers.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that was pretty high up. And that would have bought a nice little piece of change into the family. But I'm looking at things my mom never told me.
Right. Right.
Well, my mom wasn't bashful. And when we got drafted by the Dodgers and our scout Red Adams said, we'd like for you fellas to get down to spring training, my mom said, well, hold up. She said, you've made a commitment to play in Alaska during the summer. You're going to be representing the United States and Japan. And that's a commitment. And I expect you to keep that. Plus, when you going to spend in school? Because we're on a 4-year ride. So when mom says, hey, the baseball going to be there. Okay.
Right.
So we did go to Fairbanks, Alaska. We played for the Alaska Gold Panthers, which was a premier college summer league. Went to Japan, represented the United States and Japan. Came back. We still had the itching, so we tried mom on again. Said, Mom, there's enough money. We can finish college. She said, no, you just call that scout, tell him no. So we called the scout and Red Adams, and we said, hey, my mom, it's not going to work. He says, well, that probably works out. We signed 2 other kids. I said, well, who'd you sign? Well, we signed a hometown kid from your area, Leandis Lacey, who went on to play in the big league 17 years.
Uh-huh.
And then they signed another kid named Davey Lopes. I said, who the heck is Davey Lopes? Who is this kid? Taking my position. He's second baseman.
Right.
Davey Lopes played 20 years in the big league.
Right. Exactly.
The Dodgers knew what they were doing, and from that standpoint, we were able to play 2 years in the minor leagues, which was a step down from the college program because at University of Santa Clara, we were independents. So we played all the top teams. We'd go in the spring, we'd go to Hawaii to play, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got in pro ball, we got on buses and we'd be doing them trips in Midwest. And we're only making $550 a month, college education, but it just wasn't gonna work.
Right. Well, that dream, especially in baseball, that dream, you struggle around till you get there.
Well, a lot of players that it's a lot of things. It's nutrition, just getting someone. You only need one person to like you.
Yeah.
And not all the most talented guys you'll find that'll make it.
Yes, I know. Okay, so you did your stint, and so then you saw this article, and I know that you I read it when I read your bio that you always wanted writing was in your blood. Is that right?
Yeah, I as a storyteller. Okay. Now Ramona will tell you that there's a difference between a writer, okay, and because Ramona is very expressive relative to her writing, but she's also very good as the editing. Okay. And as a writer and a storyteller, you could write something, read it 20 times and never see, well, hold up, there's a semicolon should be there and perhaps a comma, maybe. Okay. But so she was very helpful and at this point, the book's not perfect, but it wasn't made to be perfect. Okay. And people will find certain things in it. And actually I've gone out that when they brought to my attention, I've got back with my publisher because we want to write. And so, as the editions come out, they're being corrected.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us how you formulated the jersey.
Well, it's I was in Manhattan, January 30th, 2004. I picked up a Wall Street Journal off of the newsstand. And the top left-hand column was the article. Mystery was William Edward White, first black. And I said, first black or what? And I read down the article because it went on another page. I said, they're talking about baseball. I said, I've never heard of this guy.
Right.
I know obviously Jackie Robinson and Fleetwood Brothers and Satchel Paige, and I knew all those guys. Okay. So I got deeper in the article and then come to find out that the young man was born in Milner, Georgia, which is only 50 miles from where I live.
Oh, okay.
So I said, well, maybe I ought to make a trip to that town. So I talked to my grandson, who was 19 at the time. I said, Ray, I need your help. He said, what, Papa? I said, we're going to go to a cemetery in Milner, Georgia. He said, oh, no, I'm not up for that. I said, no, I really need you because if we find this grave site, that's going to help me in my research. And I need someone to do the photography. So he acquiesced and we went there.
Right.
And we thought we had struck gold because we got there and there was a brother doing the landscaping. And we said, hey, this story about this ball player, you know anything about him? He said, well, not really. He said, but tell you what, give me your number and I'll have the cemetery director give you a call.
Okay.
And I said, okay. He said, but feel free to go on out there. The cemetery is like 2 miles long.
Right.
So I figured in 1890 something or however long he lived, at that point, I didn't even know how long, when he died or whatever.
Right.
We went out there and we found what we thought was a gravesite.
Okay.
Captain A.J. White. And I got pictures. They ain't in the book. Well, yeah, there's a picture. I'm at the gravesite, my arm around the tombstone of this guy who was a slave owner, plantation owner, railroad guy. And we took the pictures and I felt like I just struck gold. Got back in the car. Then I get a call from the cemetery director. He says, sir, he says, I understand you and your grandson were out looking for the ball player. I said, well, yeah. He said, you may have come across Captain A.J. White's gravesite. I said, well, yeah, we did. He said, that ain't the ball player. That's the dad.
That's the dad. Yeah.
Now, he said, you got to understand, things were a little different back then.
Yeah.
How so? He said, well, it's highly unlikely that the mother, Hattie, or the ball player, who we're well aware of, is buried there. He said, matter of fact, I can tell you, after AJ died, there you go. Yeah. After AJ died, Captain AJ died, who was a captain in the Confederate Army.
Mm-hmm.
His wife, Hattie, petitioned the church that he gave the land for and built the church to be buried next to him, and they refused.
Mm.
And he told me she's buried in the Negro Cemetery in an unmarked grave.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really, he said, but I tell you something, I can help you find your ball player. I said, how so? He said, I'm gonna send you a link. And when you get home, you look it up and I think you can find your ball player. So when I got home, I looked on my computer and he had sent me a link to a website called findagrave.com.
Okay.
Findagrave.com. So what you do is you go in and you put in the individual's name, but you had to know the year they were born or the year they died, which I knew neither. Okay.
Mm.
However, I did know that he was a junior at Brown University in 1879.
Okay.
So I said, a junior, probably 19 or 20. So I popped in 1860, voila, came all up.
Mm.
Born, where he's born. I've got the death certificate, the whole thing on this guy.
Wow.
Right.
That really started me. But really from the beginning, when I read the article, I immediately drafted in my mind a beginning, a middle, and the end.
Okay.
I didn't have the filling. Now, a beginning, a middle, and the end for that book. And 14 years later, I had the nuts and bolts of it. And Ramona was very encouraging because she had finished her book. And she said, well, you got something here. You need to finish it.
Right.
Because I'd do a chapter and then I'd fall back, do another chapter. But the plot, interesting, the plot line never changed from the day one.
All right.
That was the plot line that I had put in my mind. I just didn't have the linkage to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good. And
Yeah.
I can tell you, tell our listeners, I know about that. I wrote a book, 8 years ago, I guess. Finished it, but have not published it.
Well, hey, we'll talk offline because my publisher out of Atlanta, she works with a lot of new authors, and they put you in contact. And writing a book is like I used to do stained glass as a hobby, and it's like putting all the pieces together. But now how I write, and I am doing a sequel to the Jersey, and I just do it in a spidergram.
Okay.
So I start with the title of the new book is called Blueprint. And I've got 8 different areas and everything's coming to coalesce at the land. But it is a sequel to this book, so it really
Okay.
a lot of things happen in that. A lot of things are happening.
I see. Now you really inspired, huh?
Okay, so can you give
Oh
us,
well, yeah.
can you give us a synopsis, if you will, for the listeners of what the story is and how you know how you took it?
Well, you know, I want people to read the book now.
Right, so
I'm not gonna tell you the whole thing.
Right, I want you to give us just a touch.
But
A taste.
basically, what it is, it's a love story. It is a story of triumphant success against all odds, against major powers and wealth,
Mhm.
and how Black folks with talent, ingenuity, fortitude can overcome and achieve their goals.
Okay.
Okay, and that's really what happens. Okay, and a lot of it I've seen from being in the corporate world.
Yeah.
Okay, that you know, you develop a skill set that sometimes you have to make people think it's their idea.
Right. Right.
And when it's their idea, you just say, well, you know, something that's really something that you thought about that. You know,
Mhm.
I think that's something we can roll with. You know,
I know. We can carry this a little further.
and so that's what it's all about, putting those skill sets. I will give you an anecdotal thing here, though. There's some international intrigue there.
Mhm.
I have not been to Cuba. My twin brother's been to Cuba.
Okay.
And he said it was an incredible experience. They took a ball team over there of 13-year-old kids 3 years ago.
Okay.
And they were pretty good ball players. But what the thought was that, you know, these kids play all day long in Cuba, da, 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 da. But what they found out is the Cubans work really hard, position players. They got some good hitters, though. Those kids hit bottle cap tops, okay, with sticks, okay? And in Cuba, coaching is a unified thing. All the coaches teach the same way, okay? But kids with different skill sets, they accommodate that. But what they found is they're not developing pitchers there, okay? Now, there have been some good Cuban pitchers, but very few to come out of Cuba.
Right.
So the team my brother and them took over, they were able to waylay some of the pitching over there. But they said it was an incredible experience. The unfortunate thing is, in my plot line, and I talk about Obama throwing out the first pitch there.
Uh-huh.
Since then, and number 45 kind of put us back on our heels on that. Our relationships and our normalization with Cuba is put on the back burner.
Okay.
But perhaps somebody in Cuba might read my book and they might have an idea about how we can normalize some relationships, because really that's kind of what I do in the book.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good. So we were talking before we went live, and you were talking about the potential for it being a movie, if you will. Could you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, the book was written in my mind's eye as a movie.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's how storytellers, at least that's how I do it.
Right.
Okay. Now, a true writer, in my opinion, can take you into a room and you can feel the texture of the room, the sound of the room, the aromas of the room. I don't do that. I
Mhm.
take you into a room and say, hey, this is what's happening. Okay, this is what's
Right.
going on. This is what we've got to get done. That's kind of my style.
Right.
But so I've always wanted to see it as a screenplay. And then Ramona suggested, she said, really with the set changes, this would be a great theatrical play.
Okay.
And so I've reached out to Sly, you know,
Mhm.
and said, Sly, hey, I've seen you. It's a production. Turn me on to somebody that could turn this into a theatrical production. But from the standpoint of developing screenplay, a good friend of mine who I played baseball in college, his wife is a screenplay writer. That's what she does for a living.
Mhm.
And she was so intrigued by the story that she says, hey, why don't we do this? I'll give it a shot on the screenplay. And if it works out, then we'll decide compensation and if we get it sold.
Yeah.
I said, that's great. So I didn't press it. I wasn't paying it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
5 months later, lo and behold, I got a screenplay.
All right.
And the first few scenes in there just knocked me off my. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. However, the interaction of some of the key characters and the she-roles I got in the book, Ramona's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The she-roles in this book, they collaborate. Okay, I even got Ramona's old dog in there. I got all the bases covered. But the interaction, I think you need to have the. Let's say this. I think a African American woman, okay, the sensitivity of sisters when they talk, they have that feeling and that depth and the breadth and the experience, okay, especially on the romantic side, okay.
Right.
And I didn't feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel that, so I went back to her with my notes and very respectful because I wasn't paying her.
Right.
And I said, "This is what I'd like to see," and she said, very respectful. You know something, you'd be the best person to write this. So right now, I've got it in the hands of Sunwise Media out in Pasadena. They've done some great work, and Ricardo Handy is now kind of circulating it around to see if he catches the eye of someone that might be interested in doing the screenplay.
Okay.
Because I just think the plot line lends itself quite nicely. I take it all the way up from the 1880s all the way up to 2020 in the storylines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Mhm.
Okay, so now let's go where we at. Oh, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Now you see the you noticed the name of this other podcast, right? And we always ask our guests, we like to segue and ask them. You gave us some stuff your mother did tell you, but is there anything that you've experienced as a free thinking adult that your mother may not have prepared you for in her advice that she gave you when you were young?
Well, I told you about my mom in college.
Right.
And she was very insistent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And she raised 5 kids, pretty much as a single mother, pretty much all the time.
Okay.
I was the sickly of the twins. So my mom and I was asthmatic as a kid and struggled with that all the way up through high school. As a matter of fact, this is in the book. This is a true thing in the book.
Mhm.
The character in the book happens to be a kid who was sickly as a kid, baseball player, and his twin brother, because the sickly kid had to stay out of school as a first grader. So actually, in my lifetime, my twin brother was always a year ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
Until he got to the 9th grade, and in California, it was junior high, wasn't middle school. So the 9th grade, you would go to a high school, which would be 10 through 12.
Right.
Well, the baseball coach at McClymonds High School, that's where all the Hall of Famers went to. Bill Russell, Frank Robinson, Veda Pinson, Joe Moore. That's well, Joe went to Castlemont. But anyway, that's where they went to high school. When that coach called the principal of the school, says, "Hey, I want these 2 boys to come to Mac to play for me at the same time."
Mm-hmm.
And the principal said, "Well, what are you asking?" He says, "Well, do what you need to do." And so they put me through a battery of psychological testing and academic scholarly. I was smarter than my brother. He won't agree to that. So I actually skipped the 9th grade.
Okay.
So I went from the 8th grade to the 10th grade. And then, as I chronicle in the book, I think the title is called The Last Call, where we had to call the baseball coach and say, "Hey, we're not coming to Mac." And he said, and we were looking for this reaction, like, "All this I did for you, and you ain't coming?" But it took the whole different reaction, because he said, "Well, that's great." He said, "Because your school at St. Elizabeth is the team that I coach in the summer, and we got a pretty good club, and maybe we can win the championship." Oh, that's all good. And we did. We won the national championship.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, but one of the things that I would say is this, and this will take me to the standpoint of a parent. My 2 sons, one is a physician, and one works for Audi. My son, Nicholas, extremely bright, got a full ride to MIT, got a full ride to Notre Dame, and didn't want to go to either one of them.
Wow.
And I told him after a school visit to Boston to MIT, and we're on the plane ride flying back to Denver. He said, "Well, Dad, I really don't want to do this." I said, "Nick, really?" I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, all these kids want to be mathematicians. I want to be a doctor." I said, well, I can understand that. I said, but can you work with it? I said, yeah, there's not a person walking this earth that went to MIT that's unemployed.
Right.
I said, can you work with it? He said, no, Dad, this is what I want. I said, okay, Nick, what do we want to do? He said, I think I want to go to UCLA. I said, oh, geez. I said, now I don't live in California. I got to pay out of state fee. So in counseling both my boys, I've kind of said, just step back. Okay.
Uh-oh. You lost.
I lose you.
There you go.
I'm back at you.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. I just, as a parent, sometimes you just got to step back. Okay. As much as it may hurt you, to let them explore out. Okay.
Yeah.
And going to Berkeley, quite honestly, for him, he stayed in dorm for 3 years. He has more international friends that you would ever wonder. And it was great for him.
Yeah.
Went on to Meharry, then won the University of Chicago for his residency, and is a great doc, you know. And my other son at Morehouse, so, you know, and he works for Audi. So
Right.
that's the advice. That's the advice I would say. Just kind of let them spread their wings and hope for the best and pray for the best.
And pray for the best. Yeah.
Pray for the best.
Right. Because a lot of times, our children, especially when it comes to where they go to school, especially college, they kind of know better than we do. Yeah, because we have our dreams that we want for them, and they have their goals. Like you said, MIT, that's a nice thing to have on your.
Well, I'll tell you one more on the MIT thing. Okay, and this is before I really said what I should have done is put in the Lord's hand. Lord, whatever is your will, let it happen.
Amen.
But I didn't do that. I called the football coach at MIT, and they played. It's not intramural. It's another brand. They play football, but it's
club
not
football.
Club football. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. So I called the football coach, get him on the phone, and says, hey, sir, we just got back from it. Boy, I really would like to see my son go to MIT. He says, well, tell me a little bit about your boy, da-da-da. He said, sir, can I give you a piece of advice? I said, well, sure. I thought we would say, we'll work this out some way. He says, I want to tell you something. It's tough enough going to this school if you want to be here.
Right.
He said, if you don't want to be here, it's really tough. He said, so I let your son just kind of feel his way. So that kind of put me in my place. And it was a little bit. Now, he may be watching this now because he's not at the ER now. And hey, Damon, I got to tell you something. A good friend of mine, when I was at Pontiac Division, she has been so gracious in helping me promote my book. So when I sent her the note about joining you tonight,
yes,
hey, I'll send it out. So typically, when she sends out this notice, it's unfortunate somebody died, something happened. But this way, she was so pleased to say, hey, please join Al, tune in, things your mother didn't tell you, go with the podcast. So we may have some folks on here from way back. So I got to be careful what I say here now.
That's right. Well, you know, long as it's the truth.
And how you say it. Look.
Right. And you know, and in your the information that you sent me, you were featured in I don't remember exactly what.
Black Men in America.
Black Men in America.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
It's kind of interesting. Just last Saturday, I'm on a Zoom conference with Harold Bell, very accomplished radio personality, accomplished author in his own right, has done some incredible things on Muhammad Ali. And he's put together this blog, and I think it's every couple of weeks. And I was invited to talk a little bit about my book, and they had some incredible guests on there. The CEO of the Negro League Museum in Kansas City, Bob Kendricks, who has agreed that he's going to merchandise my book at the museum. And they just got a major grant from MLB, Major League Baseball, Project 101, which they're going to digitize a lot of the things at the museum and put that show on the road. So to hear Bob talk about that, and just a fascinating discussion took place about the decision recently about including the statistics of the Negro League to be combined. And on the surface, well, you got to say, hey, that sounds pretty good. But really, when you look at it, there's some issues with that, okay? And I think we have to be careful with that, in that there's no question that the talent that was in the Negro leagues should have definitely been in the big leagues.
Without a
Okay.
doubt.
Mhm.
And I got to tell you, one of the guests on the show I invited, he's local, my good friend Von Joshua. He's not listening tonight because he just got out of surgery, but he played 10 years in the big leagues, played in the World Series, was supposed to be the starting center fielder for the Dodgers the night that Hank hit the home run that went over the left field wall, and Tom House caught the ball. I played against Tom House. Okay. So Von says, I'm gonna tell you something. It ain't changed too much today relative to the talent that gets to the big leagues. Okay. That when you look at some of the brothers that got stuck in AA, like my brother and I got stuck, okay, or guys that in the low minors for whatever reason, they don't get that look-see. Okay. So there's some folks of other hues there that maybe shouldn't be there. All right. And the game is changing. And I would like to say this. One of the things that, because other than writing, my interest is in training young ball players. So we do this virtually. We've got a couple of kids in Houston. I got a kid in Maryland. My youngest client was 6 years old, and he's now 8 now. And I got the latest update. We follow him through. And I showed the video to Ramona. I'll show it when we see it. I said, video, what do you think of Christian, how he's progressing? And she looked at it and said, well, who's the midget? I said, ain't no midget. I said, 8-year-old kid. He got a major league swing.
Al, look here. I got a couple things. Tom Holmes wanted to say hi.
But oh my God. See now, Tom, we came up through the ranks at General Motors. And when tell Tom, when he reads that scene that took place in the restaurant in Philadelphia, okay, he gonna know who that is.
You just told
him. No. I'm saying when you said for me to tell him, he's listening. He's watching. So that's why he asked a question.
Okay, well, he'll know who it is. Tell him to call me afterwards if he has any questions.
and Luther Keith had a question for you. He wanted to know.
Man Keith.
He wanted to know if you could hit a curveball.
Oh, no question. Now, Luther, there was a kid that pitched for Stanford University. His name was Poteet. He was 6'7", herky-jerky, could bring it. And he would just, no one could hit him. However, I figured out that at the point of release was the only thing I was going to focus on, not the hit movement, anything. And when he brought his leg up, and I picked up his hand, and I saw the fat part of the hand, and I just laid him out. Now, I got to say this because my brother might be listening. There was a guy who pitched for Stanford at the time that we were playing, could throw 96 in college. The next year, he was on the starting rotation for the Dodgers. And I couldn't touch him because I couldn't pick up his hand because it was going so quick. So, but a curveball, I could lay on it.
Okay.
All right, Luther, there you have it.
We got another question for you, Luther. He said, what do you think about the dearth of Major League black ball players today? What happened and how do we change it?
That's a great question. As kids, we all grew up playing youth baseball with sponsors. Local merchants sponsored the team. You had their name on the back. You ain't had your name on the back of the jersey. Their name on front. So we had sponsors. We played in leagues, okay? And we played 2 or 3 kids get together and play. Well, now that pipeline is not there because there's a thing called travel ball.
Yes.
People have figured out how to make money on these kids. In Atlanta, there is a depth and breadth of black talent in Atlanta in baseball. It's incredible. Multi-athletic ability. However is, these kids for a summer to play in Atlanta, because my brother coaches in Atlanta. He now coaches for RBI, but when he was with the Rawlings team, it was $3,500. There's not too many black kids, families can afford that.
For that,
Now,
that's right.
A lot of those kids get sponsored in, and that's another problem because that takes them away from playing with the brothers. But what has to happen is this. It has to start. Baseball is a difficult game. It's got to start at that 9, 10, 11, 12. Because after 12 years old, the kids go to the big league field at 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care how good of an athlete you are, okay, if you don't have the mechanical wherewithal leading up to that,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're a pitcher. Now, Joey Ross, and he may be on here, pitched for the Nationals in the World Series. My brother coached him and his brother Tyson Ross. Both went to Bishop O'Dowd High School. Joey played third base, and his brother was a pitcher. Okay, brother's a little older. Scout comes out to Bishop O'Dowd High School to watch the game. Bishop O'Dowd's getting blown out. The coach says, "Hey, Joey, why don't you go and just kind of clean up? We're getting killed anyway." So the scouts, when they saw the pitching change, they wrapped up and they were leaving. All of a sudden, they hear the glove popping. This kid is throwing from the mound in the low 90s in high school. They turned back and said, "Well, who is that?"
Mm-hmm.
They're a pitcher who's got the athletic ability and got the hip motion and the flexibility. They can start a little later, okay? But position players, it's tough. So you got to start them early, and that pipeline has got to get filled.
Right.
And that's what we're doing in MLB, Atlanta Metro MLB, which, in fact, every book that I sell, autographed copy of my book, 10% of the proceeds go to the Atlanta Metro RBI.
All right.
We want to help them to be able to scholarship more kids in.
All right. Yeah, you Brother Knowles and Mary Lee both said hello.
Their brother Knowles made me an Omega Psi Phi. I'm gonna tell you something. And Tim Knowles is famous in his own right, not only as a academic PhD, he also ran track with John Carlos, at San Jose State. You know, he got hurt. He would have been in the Olympic as well.
Mm.
So that's my frat brother, Tim Knowles.
All right.
All right. All right.
Yeah. And you know what you were just saying about baseball, it's probably the same thing all over the country, because here in Detroit, same problem. Same problem.
Well, now I'm gonna tell you one thing about Detroit here. There's a young man, Coach Dietz, and I've met him through a party. I was telling a guy what I did, and he said, "Hey, do you know Coach Dietz?" I said, "No, I'm not familiar with it." He gave me his number. Well, he's got a program here in Detroit, and he's got kids starting at 8, 9 years old, taking them up to 14, doing an incredible job. Strong on fundamentals. I've gone out, worked out with the kids, so I applaud him for what he's doing. You're gonna see some promise out of these kids in Detroit. The only thing is they got to play indoors until like April, May.
Right.
And that sets them back.
Sets them back. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to know that somebody's working with it, because because it's been that same problem with the and then kids get because I guess because basketball became so popular, and then football, kids get dragged into that and away from baseball, and then in the inner city, the facilities weren't, even in the summertime, weren't up to par for you to even play. Right. But I like what you're saying, and hopefully his program. Could you say his name again?
Yeah, it's Coach Dietz, and I can get it to you, Damon, because he'd be a great guy to have on the show, because he's got a passion for it.
Yes.
He's got a passion for it. It's not work.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I mean, he really has a passion for it. Worked well with the kids.
Yeah. Sounds good. Get me that information, because we want people to be able to see that there's many things out there, not just one or two. So I appreciate it.
Hey, I want to tell you something. I'm at the post office here in Southfield, and I'm mailing out my books, because I actually, when someone buys a book for me and I autograph it, I'm the one that takes it to the post office.
Right.
So I'm at the counter, long line. I get there, and the lady's taking my book, and I said, "Media." She said, "What kind of media?" I said, "It's a book." I tell her about the book, and then I look, and she's got a picture right by her counter there. I said, "Hey, that looks like one of Coach Dietz's kids' teams." He said, "Yeah, that's my son." I said, "Get out of here." So I said, "Well, I won't call him soon as I leave." And I called him. He said, "Yeah, you met my mother, Deborah." I said,
I tell you, this world is getting smaller and smaller, isn't it?
I want to tell you.
Right. All you gotta do is open your mouth, open your eyes, and you'll find out how small this world really is.
Yeah.
So, you got something else for Al?
No, that was it.
Al, you let me put you back on the spot. Is there something that you could share with our listeners that would inspire or encourage them for whatever, as you see people need to move forward, because you got some good insights into some things.
Well, let's say this. This journey I've been on for 21 now. So it's been over 16 years in writing this book.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing when you tell someone, well, I'm an author. Really? I don't know. Hey, well, I don't know what kind of stuff you write, but you're an author. No, but the stories that people tell me, their life stories,
Mm-hmm.
it is incredible.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of getting it down and then seeking out someone. And my publisher in Atlanta, 3G Publishing, Myrna Gale, she will say, hey, you could talk it into a machine. I could give it to one of my ghostwriters. You could collaborate on it. You could give it to me. I could edit it. Now, I got to tell you, my next book, the sequel of The Jersey, The Blueprint, my next book,
Right.
I'm going to write it. And then I'm going to give it to somebody, okay, that I know that has my heart,
Mm-hmm.
and put it out, okay, that way.
Right.
So I'm not concerned about it. I know it's my story.
Right. Right.
But I would say, you got a story, you need to tell it. And there are people that can assist you to do that. And it's really, it's kind of cathartic. It's been cathartic for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's been cathartic for Ramona, because now in the next book, Ramona's got a love interest. It'll be me. so it ain't gonna be Al. I got another name for this guy.
Uh-huh.
It's gonna be how Ramona and I met on the golf course.
Okay.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's right. If you got a story,
And when you can write out of your own experience, it gets really easy.
Yeah.
It's really easy. And a lot of people have got a great story. I just need to tell it.
Right.
Just need to tell it.
Right.
That's why I'm one of those. I love what is that show that we watch? Unsung, and all biographies and autobiographies. They just great.
Yeah.
Well, last night on PBS, okay, we were watching the Black Church last night.
Louis
on PBS.
Gates, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, just tremendous. But then right after that, then the story came on about the opera singer, the famous opera singer.
Mahalia.
No.
Yeah, Mahalia.
Oh my God,
I can't think of the name either.
But I'll come to it in a second. And she had to leave the United States to go to Germany and to Paris, okay, and then come back to be recognized, okay. And it's kind of interesting, that phrase in the Bible that talks about in your own hometown, you're not going to be recognized.
A prophet won't get his due.
Yeah, just take your sandals off and take dust off and go about your business.
And that's how a lot of them do have to leave here and go over to a foreign country.
Yeah, it's sad. It's musicians. It's to get your due, you got to go overseas. My cousin, whose theme song we were playing, he wrote a song years ago, and it blew up overseas. It blew up overseas, and the first time I heard it was a few months ago. But it's been played overseas for 20 years.
Wow!
It's the theme song of a TV show over there.
Wow!
Yeah.
Wow!
You got another question now. Angela Bunting Gray. She asked, "Do you speak to youth around the country to encourage playing baseball?"
A little bit about Angela. Angela, I introduced her to her husband. Okay. And Angela, we all went to University of Santa Clara. She's a sweetheart person. And her husband, who I grew up with, who has since passed, I miss him dearly. But he came to me, he says, I really like this girl, Angela. I said, you got to be kidding. She's going with the biggest dude on the football team. He said, oh, no, you can work it out. I said, I ain't going to work it out. Frank will kill me first, and then he'll kill you.
Right.
But I introduced them, and she is just a beautiful lady. In answering to her question, what I've done and what Bert has done, we have openly said to coaches, and there's an organization that just started that I really applaud. It's called Black Boys in Baseball. And what it is, it's encouraging parents to get the video out on the kids, say, hey, what do you see? if you see something we're missing, because I got to tell you something, the number of kids that are going to play varsity baseball is less than 8%.
Right.
The kids who are going to have the talent to go on to college is less than a percent.
Right.
Kids who are going to go pro, you can't even see that number. You can go out for the lottery.
Right.
But what happens is, and what we encourage, Damon, what we encourage kids is the tools that we give kids. We always tell them, you got the skills wherever it takes you, but you got to get back.
Yeah.
And that's a key thing. I got a call just honestly, I got a call last Saturday from a kid named Devon.
Okay.
Been 9 years ago, my twin brother took a team to Anaheim to play in the national championship for MLB. Did an incredible job. This kid went on to Morehouse, graduated from Morehouse, now works for the Nationals. Okay. And he called me to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm giving back. I work for the youth program for the Washington Nationals. We're training young kids. And see, academies are out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There are people out there delivering the message. If there's a way to get out to encourage kids, because I got to tell you something, although 73, I can still throw batting practice. Okay. And Luther Keith, I tried to get him out to go out and play catch, and he wanted to invite the whole family. I said, no, man, just you and I. I got the balls, I got the bats. Okay, we just want to play a little catch.
Right,
okay?
right.
But no, if there was a mechanism to do that, I would certainly enjoy it because I have a passion for it. Matter of fact, I suggested to the Tigers what they ought to do is recruit seniors like myself, mm-hmm. get the Boys and Girls Club or whatever, give these kids little microphones, sit them in the bleachers, and let me monitor the game to them.
Yeah.
Because they'll get there with their phones and they'll be doing they want. But if you can, the intricacies of the game, if someone's got the skill set like myself and my good friend Dwight Phillips, we can say, okay, this is what's getting ready to happen. This is the situation. Look at what the shortstop and second baseman does. Look at the position, the communication.
Right.
Now,
right.
I had the benefit of having an identical twin brother on the other side of it. So we knew instinctively,
yes,
okay, instinctively what we're going to do.
Right.
I did a play playing against Stanford, went behind second base, field a ground ball, flipped it behind my back. My brother turned too. Mm-hmm. We got in the dugout and the coach said, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? What do you think this is? A circus? I said, Coach, that's the only way that play can be made. Yeah. Try it yourself. You're going the opposite direction. How you going to feed the ball back?
Right.
Just flip it behind your back.
That's right.
So, but Angela, thank you for the question. She's a sweetheart.
Right. Yeah, thank you. You know, it's funny you said that because a lot of times that's the problem that mainstream America has with us is that we figure out a way to do things that are impossible to do. Well, because it's got so much flair to it, they think we just showing off.
Oh, hey, well, let me tell you, we used to call it a hot dog with the mustard on it. But
yeah, that's right.
Let me tell you something. When you go to Cuba and you see how they coach these kids, they let them come out with it. That's why they got cheerleaders, they got the drums playing, the bands playing, mm-hmm. and that's where Major League Baseball's got to get to. Okay, they've got to let these guys like the two kids that play for the Atlanta Braves. Mm-hmm. The left fielder, center fielder and the second baseman. Right. These kids from Curacao and from Cuba, I mean, just got to let them flourish.
Just let them play.
Yeah. Let them play.
Right. Let them play, but they won't. They want to control, and so that's good. That's good advice. So, what do you say? You say you got the sequel.
Oh yeah.
Some
sequel got some intrigue in it.
Yeah.
Dealing with a little espionage, doing got Russia involved with it.
You really grown since the first one.
Well, Cuba's in the first book,
right?
But the whole Caribbean. But what I'm interested in is, so if any of your listeners got anybody that participates actively, I don't, in sports betting, I need to get someone to tell me how that works, of the intricacies, because that's key to the plot line in my next book.
Okay.
Because things get sideways. My league that I form in my book is funded primarily by sports betting.
Okay.
I ain't gonna tell no more about that.
That's right. But if somebody knows something about it, reach out to you.
If somebody knows something about it, please reach out to me because I'm trying to get the intricacies. Because as I do my research, I don't want to just be throwing some. Oh, that ain't gonna work.
Right.
I don't want that.
It's got to be believable.
Yeah.
All right. So to our listeners out there, I got my copy.
Thank you. Hey, David, did you tell him I hand delivered it?
Hand delivered.
No, I didn't know that.
He called.
I went out there.
Called me and said, "Oh, you ordered your book? Well, I might as well bring it to you instead of putting it in the mail." And who am I to say no? Because I got it today instead of 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you something, Damon. What you guys did today was so heartwarming. It was great. It was great.
Trying to hold it up there.
And yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's all, man.
Oh, Al, we loving you. We loving you.
You talking about?
Well, you guys, I love what you guys are doing. I've watched your other podcasts.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah, and we appreciate you coming on because, like I said, we want to bring that diversity out and to have someone who can take a situation and develop a whole storyline for it and put it out there and keep it within bounds of believability with the accuracy of it is fantastic. I like that.
It's nice, easy reading. That's what I like about it.
Well,
Yes,
let's say this. When I had this jersey made, I'm all suited up.
Yes, sir.
Replica.
Looking
This
good.
is a replica of the Providence Graves.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so I wanted to be as authentic as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm now, the next thing on my agenda, I am calling and communicating with bookstores across the country, especially places that I like to go to, like Denver, Philadelphia, New York, Atlanta, bookstores that have an interest in having a storyteller come in. My first book signing is in San Antonio, Texas, at the Twig Bookstore, which is right there in San Antonio, right in the Pearl District. Okay. So I'm excited about that. Yeah. And trying to get some dates in and around for book signings because I enjoy, like I'm in visiting with you guys. It's all right. It's a pleasure.
Good, it's a pleasure. And we wish you the best. We want to see it on that New York Times list.
All right.
Yeah.
So like I said, I answer if go out and get your copy of it.
Yeah, I see it. I love it.
Just go to alvinstrane.com. You got a virtual book launch there. You can order the book there. As Damon ordered this book last night, and he had it in his hand today.
And Brandis, who I didn't introduce you, Brandis was on earlier when you first came on. That's my niece, and she's our producer. She's already put your link out there.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just click on that link and you can order it. You can read some more information about Al and what he's doing. And let's get out there and support him.
All right.
Yeah, that's what we need to do. We need to support
That's what we're here for. Yes,
right.
yes.
All right, Al. So
thank you so much.
We're gonna let you go. I'll see you a little bit out there on the golf course because I'm in school, so I'm gonna miss most of the season.
All right, what are you studying?
I'm taking ministerial studies.
Oh man, that's a blessing.
Yeah, Cornerstone University.
Ramona just wrote a foreword to a good friend's book, okay? A Christian book, and Ramona wrote the foreword. Okay. And she's known Carolyn for 40 years. Okay. And Carolyn, my wife that passed, okay, when she graduated from the University of Oregon in 75, Ramona graduated from Morgan State in 75. Okay. Both accountants, both went on to get their CPAs, okay? But the conduit, and this is where I think mentoring is key. Carolyn Smith was the first Black female partner of a major CPA firm in the country. Oh, wow. Right there in DC with, it was Coopers and Lybrand at the time. She mentored Ramona and she mentored Deborah. Deborah's on the West Coast, Ramona's on the East Coast. And she mentored them, encouraged them to get their CPAs. And she wrote this book. She does missionary work. And Ramona just wrote the foreword for it last night. It's just incredible.
Oh my goodness.
Right. So she wrote the book. She had the story.
Yes. All right. Sounds
All right.
good.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. We
No,
appreciate
thank you. Thank
Keep
you.
doing the
Thank you.
good. Keep doing the good work you're doing.
Oh,
We're gonna
Lord,
try
praise
you,
God.
and you keep it going too, brother. We appreciate
All right.
you.
Yes.
Take
All
care.
right,
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye. All right. You
Mhm.
go ahead and drop off. I want to do a little. And so, to our listeners, we'll be back on next week with. I'm trying to remember who's going to be on with us next week. We're doing some Black history stuff. Oh yeah, Royce Kennebrew. He gonna give us some African American history stuff, some real deep stuff. We'll see you next week. Take care.